actually cracked it through. So sorry, I failed 2 times. I was rejected 2 times, not 3 times. But yes, the third time I made it through. So never give up. Like I said, never give up. Keep doing it, because had I had given up and decided to do something else, I wouldn't have been a food and beverage manager with the Oberoi Group. So you never know what's in store for you. Keep trying. If you even have 1% of conviction in your heart that this will work out for you, and if you honestly dedicate time to your self development, it will work for you.
Thank you, sir.
And I also know of people who've been refused 4 and 5 times. So, so we have such kind of cases also. People who are really, really dedicated and determined to get it through have got it through.
Yes, sir. Third time's always the charm.
Oh yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah, I feel good about it. That at least it was not the fourth time; it was just the third time.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Any questions? Come on, guys. Ask questions. I know it's in your head. If I was in your place, I also would have had a lot of questions, but I would be hesitant. Whether should I ask or no? Ask or no? Don't get scared of Mayank. Trust me, he will not judge you. Ask questions. Mayank, I hope you're not going to be judging them. You're not
No,
going to
no,
be harsh on them, huh?
no, no, not at all. No, not at all. I mean, we all were same when we were young, like these guys. So, and questions are good. They should ask. Guys, come on, speak up if you have anything to ask, sir.
Please call me Flavious. Huh? No, no, sir. No formalities and all. Don't make me sound so old.
Okay, I
Come
have
on.
Any
another
questions?
question.
It can be. Don't
Yeah.
think that it's a silly question. Okay, you can ask anything.
Okay, sir. The question I would like to ask is, you said general knowledge, but what do you
Hmm.
think, like, what is the type of field that they generally ask? Like, what kind of conversations did you have then?
Okay. What kind of conversations did I have then? So the first question when I went, they asked me is, and Nitish Kumar. I'll just give you an example of one of the questions that was asked. Nitish Kumar was contesting for Bihar elections at that particular point of time. So they asked me, "Do you follow politics?" And honestly, I'm really bad in understanding politics also. So they asked me, "So tell me one thing. What do you think about Nitish Kumar? Will he be a good prime minister, a chief minister? Will he be a bad chief minister? Can you just talk about him and explain what is your thoughts about it?" I mean, trust me, for that moment, I felt the ground slipping off my feet because I had never understood politics, like I said before. But again, when I studied things, when I would read things in the newspaper and in the economic times, I would understand things of which country in India is progressing, what are the reforms announced by different people, and in somewhere or the other, in some context, I had read about Nitish Kumar. Trust me, I just used those historical information which I had, and I made a conversation of it. And I was lucky enough that I got through from there, and that's when led me to the second question, and then I got through. But had this had been possible if I would have not read those small contexts which had come up in newspapers when I was reading, maybe I wouldn't have historical information to answer this kind of question. Because politics is very personal view about everything that you have, but you got to give hard coded facts about some things also at time. It cannot always be your own view, and hard coded facts only come when you read and you understand something. So the two newspapers which you should always read is Times of India and Economic Times. Very, very important. And trust me, I'll tell you one more thing. When I started reading Economic Times, the entire newspaper felt like Greek and Latin to me. I could never understand it. I struggled with making sense of it for at least 5 to 6 days, and then I kept going, and then I started understanding things. So if you think that you're going to make sense of it on day one, it's never going to happen, because what's probably in the newspaper today is something which happened a few days back, for which there is a reference article and all of those things. So you will have to keep going. And in fact, right now, we all have apps on the phone. Back then, when I used to work in Trident Urban Point, there wasn't these kind of apps. So you had to pick up the physical newspaper from the guy at the railway store, and you had to read it. Now it's on the go. You can actually, when you're commuting, you can read it, or when you're doing whatever, you can read it. So it's that simple. So please do make use of these kind of opportunity. I know there are apps like InShots which give you brief synopsis about what has happened. Even that's pretty great. I use that app too. So use those kind of things. It should help you. Use technology to your advantage.
Okay, sir. So taking an example, suppose I had a negative response saying that, no, I do not follow politics. What would have been their judgment, or how would have they looked at it?
So let me ask you this question. Let me flip it around. If you had a negative judgment saying that you do not follow politics and you have no opinion about it, that wouldn't make sense. But if you had a negative opinion saying that, oh, but I don't personally think Nitish Kumar would be a great chief minister, and if you would be in a position to substantiate that conversation with some facts, that would make sense, because they are not wanting to see whether what good of a political advisor you will be. All they are wanting to see is whether do you know what you're talking about, and how good is your communication, and how good are your facts. That's what they're looking at. They're not actually wanting to see what your view is or what your opinion is. They're just wanting to see how well you can engage in a conversation.
But supposing, sir, I do not have any knowledge about the topic they've asked, how do I go about? How do I not make a fool out of myself?
Oh, acha, you meant to say if you do not have any understanding of the subject at all, and then how do you handle that kind of question? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Not the most recommended position to be in, but if at all you are in that kind of a position, I would just recommend you say that I'm sorry, I do not have much understanding about this subject, but however, if you could ask me another question. It's always fair to put it across that way. It's not rude when you say it, but please understand it's always nice if you have some kind of subject to talk about it. But if you do not, you can always say it the way I told you right now.
Thank you, sir.
But try and not use the statement. Try and have the knowledge about it. Okay.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
All right. Who's next? Any questions? So who's interested in getting into management training programs? Tell me.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Okay, we have a question. I'm
Sir,
sorry,
from
who's
beginning-
speaking? Who's
Sir,
speaking?
myself, Sai Prasad, sir.
Okay, yes, please go ahead.
Sir, from beginning you were interested in F&B, right? Food and beverage. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, much better. I'm sorry, there was a lot of wind disturbance. I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. Sir, from beginning you were interested in food and beverage, right, sir?
Yes, that's correct.
Sir, during the interview, like before cracking the interview, what sort of knowledge you had related to other departments?
Did I hear your question correct? Did you ask me before getting into OCLD what kind of information I had about other departments? Is that your question?
Yeah, sir. To crack such interviews, OCL, what kind of knowledge you need to have of other departments, except your interested department?
Okay, so let's assume Sai Prasad, you are interested in which stream? Are you a housekeeping, kitchen, or are you an F&B guy?
Sir, F&B, sir.
Okay, so let me tell you one thing. When they are going to question you with regards to F&B, they will ask you pretty much, not just basic, but a little more detailed than that. But when they ask you, they will definitely ask you questions about other departments, because, like I said, you have several stages. There are 8 rounds of interview, and one of those rounds of interview is also called as IQE. It's called, and it's basically a qualifying exam. It's a written test. I think now it's online. That you have to do, and some of those questions are very basic questions, which are about maybe about kitchen or maybe about housekeeping, which you learn in your hotel schools. Like they may ask you what's a turn down service, for example. They asked me that. They also ask some kind of psychometric questions, like they'll ask you some kind of puzzles and some trick questions, just wanting to see what is your ability to reason it out, and what is your ability to answer it properly. Like, for example, I'll give you a question that they asked me that time. And so I still remember this question very clearly. The question was, April's mother had, no, once again. See, I'm forgetting the question also, one second. Um, yeah, April had two brothers, June, July. Who was the third one? So, it's tuned in such a way that your mind automatically thinks, it is something else, June, July, August. But actually, the answer is in the question.
April.
So, yeah, I mean, thank you very much. I realized it after answering it wrong. I did answer it wrong. So I was also one amongst them. But they're also, like I said, they're psychological questions, they're aptitude questions, they're psychometric questions, and some basic questions if you are from another industry, like from another stream. If you're appearing for F&B from housekeeping, they'll probably ask you what's a turn down service. Then they may ask you what is a duvet, what is the different kind of pillows available. So some basic things which we learn in our hotel management course. They will ask you all of this. They will not go into the technicals of it. Like especially, but if you are from F&B, do expect some culinary questions. Like they can ask you mother sauces. They can ask you what is a derivative, what is stuffed pastas. They may ask you because that is related information. You are supposed to know that even if you're appearing for F&B. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
So according to you, the other three departments basic is enough to crack such type of interviews, right, sir?
See, your department, definitely you need to know it very well. You need to be thorough with your own department. If you're from F&B, you need to know F&B very, very well. But when it comes to the other department, like I said, whatever you've learned in your hotel school is more than enough. That's what I feel. It's more than enough when you about your hotel school, because when you get into OCLD, they will anyways teach you about it again. So, that way it should be good. But in-depth, complete knowledge about your own stream is very important.
Thank you very much.
Okay, who's next? Any other questions? Am I hearing somebody asking a question? There is some amount of word. If not, then I'll proceed. Okay, I think there aren't any questions. Okay, so let me touch on the second. Like the whole session was about 2 points. The first topic was supposed to be about management training, and the second topic was supposed to be about careers in hotels. Can anybody tell me what do you think? What all are the possible career opportunities when it comes to hotels? Anybody, just random. What are the possible career opportunities? If you do hotel management, what all can you do?
So we can go into any hospitality field, be it airports or cruise lines. You can become an entrepreneur.
Okay, so again, that's hospitality. Fine, fantastic. Second,
Catering services.
sorry, say that again, please.
Catering services.
Catering services, fantastic. Yes, of course, you can. What else?
Event management.
Fantastic. Event management, yes. Okay.
Airline. Sir, we can start our own business.
Interior decoration could be related for weddings.
Well, that's event management more per se, but interior decoration is a different subject and a different field in itself. Okay, so let me. Some of the points which all I've said is absolutely valid. So let me tell you what I personally think of hotel industry. See, I graduated of hotel school about close to 12 years back. Okay, the world and the market was very different then. the kind of brands that are existing right now in India, or the amount of hotels which are existing in India, weren't there at that particular point of time. So obviously the competition has increased, so is the industry. The fraternity has grown and diversified. When you do hotel management, you can get into facility management. Have you heard about these terms, facility management? That's one industry that you can get into. You can work into mainstream hotels. You can be into airlines and allied hospitality industry. You can be your own entrepreneur by having your own catering companies. But there is also a vast segment of people who've probably done their hotel management, but work in an indirect industry. Now, when you say indirect industry, let me explain to you what I mean. There may be people who may, for example, after 3 years of hotel management, specialize into, there is a newer concepts with the current situations that are going on. There are a lot of hotel companies in India who are creating a position called as a hygiene manager, which earlier never really existed much. So you can, look into those kind of portfolios. You can get into FMCG, fast moving consumer goods, or food processing industry as a nutritionist. There are courses that you can do hotel management also. Also, there are a lot of other things which can be done on an individual basis. You can, like I said, did I mention about being an entrepreneur? You can start off small time. You got food aggregators these days. You can just set up a delivery kitchen with a very little investment, and you can be able to be an entrepreneur. Back in my time when I was in hotels, when I was working, you really did not have these kind of Zomatos and Swiggies and other food aggregators of the world to help you increase your business profile. There are a lot of industries coming into that way. But obviously, I think one of the other and the more important industry which I see working very closely with hotels is there is a very large amount of, and especially you guys since you're in Goa, you all will know this more than I do. There are a lot of event management companies who are setting up very niche boutique segment within their organization for a lot of destination events. And when you get into those kind of profiles, it is very important that you have understanding of hotels, and you know how hotel works. You understand the requirement of a client and how to blend both of them together. Because these kind of events are very, very big, but they're very big ticket items, big ticket events. They spend a lot, and also it is a great source of employment for a lot of people. And as a business opportunity, it is a fantastic business opportunity as well. So, of course, if you do not wish to consider mainstream hotels as a business, or mainstream hotel as a career opportunity, you've got other industries also. Apart from that, you can also be consultants. You can be consultants, but consultant for a fresher is really not recommended. You need to have some amount of experience, decent amount of experience of working in the hotels for you to have information of how things work so that you all can give the right kind of information. Apart from that, you can also get into these alcohol companies like Diageo, Pernod. There are some craft breweries. You can get into those kind of industries. Beverages, basically, that's the industry that you can look at. You can also look at getting into standalone restaurants. Yes, the stability in a standalone restaurant is not recommended much as a hotel would be, but you can get into those kind of profiles. I know of certain hotels who are coming up with the position of experience managers. Basically, their job is creating experiences. So there are a lot of things, so to say, but you can definitely explore and not just limit yourself to mainstream hotels. It's not necessary that an F&B guy needs to work in hotels only. You can do a lot more. There is a whole world out there. You can do whatever you wish to. There are a lot of things. That's, I think I am running out on time, and I think you guys, I was briefed before that you have a session at 3 also. We've got just about under 4 minutes left. I will leave that for questions if at all anybody has. Then please do so. Please ask me questions quickly because I do not want to overshoot on my time.
Mr. Flavious, I want to ask, do you advise students to start off their career in small hotels, or do you think one should kickstart the hotel line in a five-star hotel, a career in a five-star hotel?
See, if you have an option, for example, if you've got a job from a very big brand and a small brand, obviously the answer is go for the big brand because it is very important that you have an exposure of a very big brand and that brand attached to you as your experience for multiple reasons. But if the question is to be answered in black and white, what do I suggest? I definitely suggest please start off with a big brand because it is easier to move from a big brand to maybe a smaller brand, but to move from a smaller brand to a big brand is very challenging. And also the kind of exposure a big brand can give you is far more different and far more enriching for you professionally.
And so how many years of experience was required for you to become the F&B director in Trident?
So in our company, we do not have a position called as an F&B director. The F&B manager is what an F&B director is. In companies like Hyatt and Marriott, you've got the position called as an F&B director. It's different words. Like we do not have assistant manager in our companies. The restaurant managers are assistant managers. So there is different structuring in terms of hierarchy. We've got a very linear structuring. So because of that, after my management training program, in my 6th year, just around 6 years, I was the F&B manager for the hotel.
Thank you, sir.
So you should give yourself about 6 to 7 years. That should be a good time after management training program. These are not all the 6-year career graph is not possible without a management training program.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I would like to interrupt. Sorry, Flavious. I guess we have run out of the time. So thank you so much for such wonderful insights in the industry and how our students can, take opportunities seriously and move forward in life. So that was really an motivational and inspirational session because I also got a little bit nostalgic. Remembering our old days and the struggle we used to do. Traveling, like you mentioned, traveling in trains and the stuff we used to do in hotel. Just to crack OCLD or any, to reach that particular spot. And thank you so much once again. And Chef Sangeeta, if you'd like to,
yes. Yes, Mike. Thank you very much. Mr. Flavious, it was really a wonderful session, and I'm sure all the students have got a very good knowledge regarding your experience, your hands-on experience. Thank you for your wonderful time to IIM Goa. We'll wish you to have you again sometime near future. Yeah.
Yes. Chef, what you can do is you can ask the students to start logging off. Flavious, just before you log off from the session, there is an ex-colleague of yours who was working in Trident BKC. His name was Dhiren Kurtarkar. He was my student. Now he was working in Trident with you. And then he has come back as a faculty here. Dhiren, just can you switch on your video and say hi before we leave?
Hi, students, you all can log off. All of you.
Sorry, I'm not able to see. I'm not able to see you.
My video. I
okay,
can see me.
Can you see him?
Sure. Hi, sir.
Yes, I can. You look pretty much different with the beard and.
Yes, exactly. I was telling Mike the same thing that some may not recognize me. Some may not recognize me now.
No, of course I do. But thank you guys, Mayank. Really, it's always nice when you are able to connect back to people who are from college because trust me, these kind of technologies were not available then, and it was a very big thing for us back then to be able to talk to some of the senior executives in the hotel. But I'm really glad that you guys are getting that kind of an exposure and make the best of it, because it's so nice to connect back to college students, because trust me, it's just about I know it sounds a lot, but it's about 8 to 10 years back. I was exactly in the same position that you are, wondering, scratching my head as to, my God, where is my career going? What am I doing? Sometimes I used to end up questioning my own self. But have faith in yourself, guys. And you'll be able to do a great job for you. And I'm sure now that Dhiren is also back, he's a great guy. He's come back with some hands-on experience. He should be able to enrich your careers a little more. And of course, Mayank is always there to spearhead everything. My very old buddy.
Dhiren was actually my student. He passed in the year 2014.
Okay.
From the same
I didn't
college.
know that. Small world, huh? Small world. And it's even smaller when you work in the Oberois.
Even Somadeep is Mr. Flavious. Hello?
Yes, I can hear.
Yeah. Mr. Flavious, even Somadeep from kitchen is known to you, it's him. Somadeep, you can say hello to him.
Yes.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's getting even smaller, the world now. So nice to see you guys, man. Good.
Yeah.
I knew the name and all, but I know him. I had worked with him.
So I think thank you so much once again, Flavious, for your time, taking out time. I know it was your holiday today, and we have disturbed you for this session.
No, not at all.
But it was great and pleasure to have you over here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
so much.
guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.